JT Smith for the TFON podcast here for season 3, episode 25. Sorry we've been off for a few weeks, but tonight we got my main man, Neil Meyer, in the building. Neil, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Just wanted to touch base, with Bearcat Nation, real quick ahead of Big 12 Media Days. As we know, over the weekend, the Big 12 media, preseason poll came out, and the Bearcats were picked at number 13. And I know the Bearcats aren't supposed to be college football playoff contenders this year, if we're being realistic, but being picked 13 out of 14 teams in the Big 12 is super rough. And I know you voted on this. Like, I know you had a ballot. We talked about this. Let us know, for one, were you shocked that the Bearcats were number 13? And where did you have them on your ballot?
Yeah, so absolutely. I was actually shocked to see them down at 13 when the polls came out. But, I mean, looking back on it, you're thinking about a whole offense, a team that's lost its majority of its offense from a season ago. So, I mean, I can see why teams were voting, or the media members were voting them that low, because the offense was an uncertainty, obviously, with Ben Bryant transferring this offseason. You're losing guys like Tyler Scott, Trey Tucker to the NFL, Josh Wiley, Leonard Taylor, both also went to the NFL. And then you're losing it's a wide receiver room that's only returning one wide receiver from a season ago. And then you have your running backs are all returning, which is Ryan Montgomery, Corey Kiner, Miles Montgomery. So the running back room is your key vital pieces from the returning contributors from a season ago. But overall, I mean, I was not too surprised, because a lot of people probably took that into consideration. But I had them a little bit higher. I actually had them at 9 in my bracket, just because, for many reasons. I mean, everyone knows what a Brian Brown defense is going to look like and how he runs his defenses. I mean, we've seen it up close and personal. The defense is going to cause a lot of problems this year. We've all known that, especially with the defensive line that's returning a lot of quality players. I mean, you have All-Americans and Dante Corleone up front. You're returning Malik Vann, Jawan Briggs. And then you throw guys in there like the addition of Daniel Griziak in there as well. So, I mean, the defensive production for this defensive line, it's going to be fun to watch. But, however, it is predominantly voted on them. In my personal opinion, they got voted that low just because of the questions surrounding the offense, which there's a lot of questions surrounding it. Obviously, it's how is Emory Jones going to fit into the Scott Satterfield offense, and how are these new transfers going to be able to step in? Who's up next at the wide receiver room to replace those guys like Tyler Scott, Trey Tucker? I mean, even from 2 years ago, and Alec Pierce. So overall, there's still some questions around the offense, and I can see why people within the Big 12 media voted that low. But me personally, I had them up higher at 9.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think I probably would have had them like in the 8 to 10 range, depending on. I'm not looking at the list now, but 13 seems like they just pick it on them and win like 2 games or something to me. But we'll see. We'll see. I think with the over under by the books where it was 4.5, I think they'll get that. I think they'll get that for sure. I'm thinking like it's just they have a lot of games that right now they're 50-50. We have 50-50 games. I think like if you look at it now, I think it's mass games where it might be like a 55-45 type split right now if you bet on it, I guess. So that might be, seeing how the offense irons itself out. If they get the ball rolling faster than people expect, then they could probably win more. But I think there will be a bowl eligible team barring anything crazy, because I feel like they have 2 to 3 games they should win out of conference, and they only got to win a couple in conference. And I don't think the Big 12, the top is heavy per se right now, at least preseason. And then I think after that, it's kind of like it's a puncher's chance for everybody else. So we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. So, you're getting ready to go to Big 12 Media Day. So it's the Bearcats' first inaugural season in the Big 12. And Wednesday and Thursday will be the Big 12 Football Media Day, where multiple Bearcats will speak. I want to say it's 4, correct? It's Jawan Briggs, Dante Corleone,
Deshaun Pace, Emory Jones, and Scott Satterfield.
Yep. So I know we'll be getting TFON um, video of that. So make sure you guys, subscribe to the YouTube page and hit up the site. We will be posting them on both. And then, cool, man. But just, you've been to a few media days in the past, and just how excited are you to be able to cover this and then just be able to kind of document this, with your own eyes. The Bearcats transition into the Big 12. They only been in the Big 12 technically 10 days now.
Yeah, it's super exciting. I know you and I both covered the last couple AAC media days, and they've been all virtual. So this is the first one where we get to get up on the scene there in Arlington, Texas. So it's going to be a huge opportunity just to see what the Big 12 is all about. I mean, everyone knows the Big 12. It's one of the Power 5 conferences in all of college athletics. A lot of things are happening around the Big 12. Obviously, they just announced the homecoming tour. And then you have this new addition where you have added 4 teams in the likes of Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and UCF. So overall, you're adding 4 quality programs to this conference. And then you bring in, they still have Texas and Oklahoma for a year. And then the Big 12, I mean, you look at it, TCU's coming off a national championship run a season ago. Kansas State popped off and really surprised a lot of people from a season ago as well, where they won the Big 12. So overall, I mean, the Big 12 Media Days, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of good content. But I'm really excited to get down to Texas and really get this firsthand experience as the Bearcats are now in the Big 12 for just 10 days. But it's going to be a huge opportunity, especially with all the momentum surrounding the program. We talk about the move to the Big 12. You have the new Jordan and Nike deal. There's a lot of fun things going on up in Clifton. You have the new practice facilities as well. So overall, the momentum's huge, and it's going to be a very exciting time this week down in Arlington, Texas.
For sure. And throwing a bone to the baseball guys. They're doing, redoing the turf, in the baseball field. So it's just a lot of good stuff going on in Clifton, of course. So cool, man. I'll be excited to see, getting the content and seeing, people you get to shake hands with and everything down there, man. So it's going to be pretty dope. So, it's been real basic. We're not talking about anything too crazy. Just want to touch base on those 2 things. As if you've been following the website, we've been posting any commit or decommit. I think since the last time we've actually had a podcast, it's been probably about 5 or 6 guys. But I think Satterfield's done a good job. I mean, he's got the highest recruit of the class. Samaj, it's Samaj, right? Samaj Jones, quarterback from Pennsylvania. So him and his wide receiver, Elijah Jones, they both have committed. So that's pretty dope. They got one of the top tier quarterbacks, in the 2024 class to come into UC. So look to see how, what Satterfield and the crew does the rest of the recruiting cycle. But I think that was a real huge get for the Bearcats. So I just want to throw that in there. But then we're going to change pace. Normally we talk all UC stuff, but we're going to talk a little Big 10 and a little Big 12. And we'll start with Big 12 because the reason why we're going to bring this up is because the coach has UC ties. Bob Huggins, as you know, he had resigned. And I put my 2 quotes up because he had resigned a few weeks ago after he got caught with a DUI, drunk driving. And then now they say he did not resign. So I know we know a few people that got boots on the ground in that area. This is just like a weird fiasco that's popping up. And Neil, what do you feel about? How do you feel about this situation overall?
Yeah, man, it's obviously a crazy situation. Obviously, as you mentioned, we have a couple guys in the grounds in West Virginia. So I mean, it's a crazy situation that's developing. I mean, obviously, right when it all happened, you're just like, okay, what's going to be the reaction? And then he quote unquote resigns 24 hours after being arrested. And then next thing you know, as of late, a new legality issue came about with a letter from an attorney saying he didn't actually resign. So they're saying that message came from, I'm assuming, his wife's account, if I read it right.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is crazy, but I mean, it's going to be a fiasco up there in West Virginia. It's not going to be something easy. I know West Virginia fired back with a statement right shortly after from Bob Huggins' lawyer. So it's going to be a battle up there in West Virginia. I know it's going to be a lot of legality things as they play out, obviously with Coach Huggins, but obviously the university has a huge decision to make here. Is what's going to happen. Obviously, they made the decision to name an interim coach in Josh Eilert from promoting staff, and it's kind of cool. We're actually kind of talking about this West Virginia situation because, as JT and I know for covering this situation, our guy DeMar Johnson actually just headed out to West Virginia during this season to take on that assistant coaching role with Coach Huggins. So it's cool to see him still being on the staff after all this stuff has played out. But overall, yeah, I got a feeling it's gonna end as a sad thing up there in West Virginia. It's gonna be a sad ending for a Hall of Fame career, but it's definitely going to be a decision and a situation you're going to have to monitor very closely.
For sure. I feel like I don't know, like with him resigning, if he gets less money or not. Like that's what I need to do my research on. So like don't don't get mad at me for not having that. If y'all are listening to the pod. But I think like the best thing they probably save face to make him resign. But at the same time, if he says he didn't, he's probably gonna get a bigger buyout. Like you know what I mean? It's like if you owe me 20 million and I'm just throwing a number out there, and then if I resign I only get 5, but if I make a fuss I can get 10. I might as well make the fuss, even if I look bad in doing it. Because he's probably gonna double. I mean, he's gonna get more money. That's at the end of the day. Because I don't think you can have an interim and then bring him back. I don't know. Unless he could pop up like the Undertaker, that'd be crazy. But I mean, Bob Huggins is a legend at the end of the day. But I also don't know if he'll be able to double back. I don't think the university will be able to double back after making that stance. So we'll see how it plays out. Of course, anything that pops up on that, UC fans are going to be on it just because of the ties, man, to Cincinnati. So, and they're in the Big 12. We're in the Big 12 now. So it's just going to be something that we follow closely, even though it's not directly tied to the current program. So I'm going to switch gears, and then we're going to go to the Big 10. As you know, Northwestern fired their longtime coach, Pat Fitzgerald, today. And we know that Ben Bryant transferred from UC to Northwestern, within the last month or two. And now, he's not going to have the coach that he transferred to play for. But just this, with Fitzgerald, I think he was the winningest coach in their history. And now with that situation where he was like hazing the players and all this crazy stuff, like how does Northwestern like recover? And it just was something that nobody thought was coming. Like I thought he just signed a big deal within the last year or two extension, and you thought okay he was a second tier team in the Big Ten, and sometimes you make it to the Big Ten finals. So it's crazy. So just like your thoughts, man, especially like with Ben going there and Ben playing for UC so long, so we kind of been watching a little bit longer, and it's the big headline right now.
Yeah, so Ben actually transferred to Northwestern right after spring ball, but I mean it's a crazy and horrific situation going on up there in Northwestern in the Chicago area, but it's crazy to think about too because he signed that extension and he's still owed $42 million. 42.
I wonder how much you gonna get of that. Because he's definitely getting something, even if he did do something wrong. They got to pay him something.
Yeah, and he's the all-time winningest coach in program history. His son is currently on the team, but I mean, with how many players and former players and alumni and staff members that have came out and spoke, it's been a crazy 72 hours in this situation because they announced his suspension on Friday, that he was going to be suspended for 2 weeks. But little do people know that suspension is coming in a time where it's in a month of the offseason where the football teams aren't really doing much practicing. It's kind of considered like a dead period right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that suspension comes at a time, that original 2-week suspension comes at this time where they're not going to be doing much football activities anyways, outside just a little bit of conditioning here and there.
Yeah.
But then you think about it to where 72 hours later, we're sitting here tonight talking Pat Fitzgerald got fired. And it's interesting we talk about this because we mentioned the Big 12, Bob Huggins connection. My biggest thought is what is going to happen to those guys who transferred in. Will they get the same opportunity that the Big 12 gave West Virginia's players, hey, you
Mm,
got 30 days to hit the portal, even though the portal's closed.
yeah,
Will
I
they
didn't
get
think about
that
that.
same option? Will they be able to go find another school? Because let's be honest, a lot of people probably transferred out there just to play for a winning coach like Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah,
But that's something that comes to concern. Will they get a 30-day window where they can A, test the portal waters again, or B, will they just have to kind of deal with it and deal with
yeah,
the situation where they gotta have to finish this year out? They might not have the eligibility to transfer or whatnot. So it's going to be a curious situation up there in Chicago. But overall, I mean, the situation, it's crazy. I mean, I
yeah,
don't think anybody expected it to take the turn that it did, especially within the last 72 hours. I mean, there was a lot. I think it was one, what is it called? A whistleblower that came out and
yeah,
really anonymous source that really broke this thing open. And now, next thing you know, I think I saw today, it was like 11 or 12 former players came out and are now speaking on this. Like, it's a
yeah,
crazy situation. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, obviously, it's going to. I think it might play out the same way this Huggins thing might play out. I mean, they sounds like they put him on a suspension and didn't even kind of tell him, hey,
yeah,
hey, we're letting you go. So
yeah, for
sounds
sure.
like he found out through somebody else and not directly through the university. So that's why sounds like that 42 mil might be coming into play here.
Oh, for sure. It definitely is. It's gonna be interesting to see how they attack that. So, I mean, he's gonna get some of the money. It's no ifs ands or buts about it. It's just a matter on how much, and then depending on how. I mean, because right now you can't hire a permanent coach. Right now, this is like
Mhm.
not the time. Just
I think
worst
I saw
timing.
they were promoting their DC,
Yeah, they have to like they have to get somebody interim coach. Hopefully that person
like
does well.
interim, the
Yeah,
DC
title.
who came from North Dakota State, I think it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, they got to
going
get
to step up and
somebody
be
to
the interim
bump them
coach.
up. Hopefully, they give them a good little bonus for having to take on extra duties, and that's good for their resume too. So hopefully, they do well. Yeah, but it's gonna be something to keep an eye on for sure, man. Especially, see, I want to see about the 30 days. That's my biggest thing right now. So,
Because
but
that's a big question too. Because I
yeah,
mean, we saw how it affected West Virginia.
yeah,
I mean, there was one guy who went in the portal and then quickly came back out of it for West
yeah,
Virginia to stay, and that was
yeah,
someone who's going to draw a lot of attention.
for sure. He was definitely gonna have his fair share of suitors. So,
So now it's curious: will those same guys get that option that those guys had there? I mean,
yeah,
West Virginia guys still got guys in the portal.
yeah,
So I mean, there's a couple guys who found some homes. I mean, we saw one Mo Wag end up at Alabama.
yeah,
Kentucky landed Joe Toussaint. Like, I'm curious to see how this will play out.
for sure, man. It's gonna be interesting. Super interesting. So, yeah, that will be those two stories outside of our UC normal UC stuff are going to be big things to keep an eye on because it's all pertaining like Midwest teams. Well, Mitchell College isn't really Midwest, but still, it's a Big 12 team. You got a Midwest team, so it's in our region per se. I guess there are no regions anymore in college football with how wide everything is, but still, it's within a four-state type deal. So we'll
And
see
it's
what happens
crazy
with
too,
that.
because you got to feel for a guy like Ben Bryant too. I mean, we've been around, we've covered him the last
Yeah.
3-4 seasons, and you got to feel for him. He transfers back home for his senior year,
Yep.
his last season of eligibility, is pursuing an option to start out there, and next thing you know, is blindsided by something
Yeah.
like this. And for everyone who knows Ben or has covered Ben, you know how great of a human Ben Bryant is,
Yeah. Good
but you
dude.
just feel for him in a situation like this.
For sure. It definitely sucks. But as long as they keep everybody else intact, then you should be okay. So fingers crossed. But it still sucks though. You don't want to go there and your head coach gets fired before the season starts because of some stuff they got going on behind the scenes that you didn't know about or you probably didn't have much clue about when you were coming. So it's like dang. So that sucks. That's rough. So but
But
we
the
will
main
see.
question is, how is this going to affect it? Say that transfer portal, if something does happen, are we going to find news out later this week? Like, hey, portal's open for these guys. They got 30
That's
days like West Virginia. That's going to be the huge question,
yeah, true. I wonder if they'll say anything about that. That'll
especially
be
this late into summer ball with fall camps starting in a month,
yeah,
season 2 months away. It's
yeah,
going to be a situation to monitor.
yep. Because you don't, yeah, because it's like super close. I mean, right now, fall ball, aka late summer ball, is going to start up soon. It's like, it's just rough. You really can't, even if you did, I don't really think unless you're the exception. I don't mean a quarterback really can't do it and just leave this late. I don't think it'll be the wisest thing unless somebody just got like it's mass injuries on some team. Besides that, you kind of SOL because you don't have a playbook. You leave somewhere else, you gotta learn something totally new terminology, players, etc. At least now, I mean, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. I mean, linemen might be easier to get plucked from this if they give them a 30-day window. Defensive linemen, even corners, like I think everything but quarterback. Running backs wide receivers can be 50-50. If you're just a guy, you probably can get around it. But the quarterback spot, and that late, it'd be like almost like coming off the street and playing. You have to like almost draw it up in the dirt. So it'll be hard for the offensive coordinator, So y'all see, man. We'll see. That's gonna be interesting. I want to see what happens with that for sure. So
yeah, and this, as we talk about it, this is a Northwestern team that was in the Big Ten championship. What, in 2021?
Yep, I want to say so. No, it wasn't last year. It was the year before, right? Yeah, because
it was 2 years ago. So
yeah,
I mean, they're top 3 in the Big Ten last 2 years. I mean, this year was Ohio State or Michigan, Ohio State, Northwestern, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, this is a team that's finishing top 3 or 4 in the last few years within the Big Ten. So I mean, it's going to be if whatever they decide to do with the coaching job, it's going to be a high demand job just because of what that program's been doing. But I mean, it's going to be who's going to want to take that job a month before the season.
Exactly. That's why I don't think it won't be anything that gets answered before the season. I think it'll be after a season. They'll just be like, if the guy doesn't do well, they'll be looking, vetting their options anyways. But I think if the guy doesn't do well, it'll make it easy for like soon as the season's over to hire the new guy, if that makes sense. But the guy does well, then you're like, hold on, do we keep him and let him do his thing? Or does he get lumped into the Fitzgerald situation? You know what I mean? Like, are they like, no, we're just going to cut ties for mostly everybody? That's going to be interesting to see too. Because they say like, if you've been here for the entirety of the time, are they banishing you too? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's definitely going to be crazy how it plays out. Yeah. That's for sure.
So that's going to be interesting. So cool, man. So those are the things we want to just talk about today, guys, and just knock that out. So just make sure you guys are checking out the website, man. Hit up the frontofficenews.com. Make sure you're sharing, liking, commenting, letting us know what you think. Head to 513 Shirts. Feel free to get your TFON gear. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube page, please. Trying to get to 1,000. We're struggling, but we're getting closer to 400 though, slowly but surely. So help us get to 1K.
I'll throw this out there for anybody who wants to know my full ballot that I voted on in the Big 12 Media preseason voting poll. You guys can hit me up. I got my whole voting list still, so be more than happy to hear what people think, and we can talk about that stuff as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Hit him up because he definitely voted on that. Voted on the Big 12 team as well. Now shout out to Dante Corleone and Mason Fletcher. They both were voted first team, preseason first team All Big 12. So people are expecting big seasons to come from those Bearcats. I think a few others, especially on defense, will have some big seasons as well. So that'll be it, man. That's how we're gonna finish this pod. This will be up on all platforms tomorrow. And then to make sure you guys check us out, because my man Neil is about to be holding it down in Dallas, Texas, or is it Fort Worth? No, not Fort Worth.
It's in Arlington.
Arlington. Fort Worth is where
AAC
now. We ain't no more AAC. My bad. I need to erase that. So no AAC. We're in Arlington, aka Dallas, aka Jerry's World. So he's gonna be there live, man. So make sure you guys check it out. We're gonna do some cool stuff on our Instagram page. Make sure you guys are following Front Office News on that platform as well. And I'm JT Smith, and my man,
I'm Neil Meyer.
All right, we're signing out.